Today I'm being sponsored by Paradox to ask the question, can you build a thriving metropolis with only the tiniest possible lot size in the city's skylines? Most of the time when I play Cities Skylines, lot size doesn't matter. The bigger the better. I've used many shapes. Squares, circles, triangles, hexagons, zigzags, squiggly lines, and even the Sierpinski gasket. But since I've fooled around with shape and traffic structures, and never the actual lot size before, I thought I'd try and see if I could build an entire city from only the smallest possible building blocks. I got inspired to try this idea by the YouTuber named Toadies, so be sure to go check her out with the original idea next. Also, I was planning on making this video anyway. Paradox offered to sponsor this video. So here you go. This weekend, Cities Skylines is free to play if you've enjoyed my videos on it, and ever wanted to check it out for yourself. My link is in the description. But without any further ado, is it possible to make a city with only the smallest possible lot size? So I set out with the first city, One Tileopolis. Perhaps it was naive, but One Tileopolis was an authentic attempt at a miniature metropolis. First, there was one street. Beside it, a row of houses only one tile wide. Then there were a lot more streets and a lot more rows of houses that were only one tile wide. It didn't take long, and before long I realized that I had already made a lot of major mistakes. I could have fit a whole other row of houses back there, but I didn't because I was afraid the houses would join together and accidentally get bigger, and then I would be cheating, so I didn't do it at all. Consequently, the road budget was overwhelming and impossible to fully finance. More roads than homes and surface area, leading to an undesirably labyrinthine asphalt sprawl. It just grew and grew and grew, and then I started running out of money, and then I did run out of money. So I decided to just abandon this first failure of a town. So I began, of course, on the second city. If the first city's roads were excessively expensive, perhaps dirt roads were the solution I sought. Dirt roads, dirt roads, dirt roads. Dirt roads everywhere. Dirt roads here and dirt roads there. This actually worked at first. I had plenty of money because dirt is cheap and affordable. Row upon row of residential, commercial, and industrial zones. Pollution was manageable. I was able to keep it away from the houses by putting other stuff in between and planning healthcare facilities to put a band-aid on the town's pollution problem. When people who lived next to the toxic poop-spewing factory zones checked into the medical clinics with mysterious and deathly symptoms. Unfortunately, I realized that I had been cheating all along. When some of the commercial zones joined together accidentally into double zones. I felt bad. This was unacceptable and against the spirit of the challenge, so I abandoned the city because I had cheated accidentally. If I hadn't cheated, though, I gotta say, this was a pretty good city, and I learned how to make a profit rather than just running out of money. Again. The third city. I named it Nippolopolis. They say the third time's the charm. This one indeed worked out at last. I once again used dirt to keep everything cheap and affordable. The plan was to checkerboard the city's zones to keep them tiny. And since zones cannot combine through diagonal adjacency, the zones here would indeed remain tiny. I traced in little footpaths to keep everything miniature, and I kept all the pollution away from the rest of the city by segregating the industrial zones from the commercial and residential zones. Since I was now able to put in double rows of developments without cheating by causing two zones to touch accidentally, the city was far more cost-effective and there was more space for developments than roads, and I could focus on other more important civic tasks in developing our town. As it always began in my cities, everyone was stupid again. At least at first, until the elementary schools popped up. And living near the school made them smarter. But then I started to encounter new problems. My people were becoming too smart to just keep working at our primary industry. Fuel storage. Just fuel storage off to the west. That was all we had room for. So I started to build up office buildings right next to the fuel storage industries and between them and the homes to prevent as much toxic poison and death as possible. Offices were erected. But then there was a new problem. There weren't enough even smarter people to work in the offices. So they just built offices, tried to hire people, then gave up and abandoned, then blew up the building, when inevitably none of the dumb people were capable of working there because they were too dumb. So I built them new forums of learning to get smarter. The high school, the university, and even a public library to help them remember everything they'd learned in school and be less stupid. But then I realized that the office lots were also combining, so I was cheating again. But I didn't feel like going back and restarting because everything was going so well and it seemed, well, rather minor. So I started alternating the formations in a checkerboard-like pattern and just carpet bombing the whole town with education, like a nuclear bomb of happiness. Problematically, sometimes commercial squares would level up too much and get overly ambitious in trying to hire staff that were too smart. Then they would self-destruct because no one was, well, we weren't that smart. But gradually our intelligence improved, and the town then did something I didn't expect. It started making a lot of money. Usually my ideas do not succeed in city skylines, so I was surprised and I wasn't prepared for this. Now it was time to embark upon novel and risky civil engineering ideas, which I had heretofore never conceived. First, I scaled out the city to immense proportions, generating thousands of dollars a week. The houses grew and leveled up. In city skylines, the houses gain experience from people living in them, and they improve and are able to hold better people after they've been used up by the people who originally lived in them. And so this process occurred across the city, in an astoundingly boring fashion since all the lot sizes were exactly the same. Block after block, everything was exactly the same. But it was perfect. I was creating a utopia of tiny buildings. We educated people even more by surrounding them with elementary schools and forcing them to learn. Then we built a huge university that was just all too enormous. We got so smart that it actually came to the point where too many people were too educated, and they had all of these useless degrees. No one wanted to run the basic factories anymore, and more jobs demanded dumb people to work at them. This created a minor crisis in our economy, and we had to strategically prevent half the neighborhood from going to school by saying they weren't entitled to education since it was too far away. But this was okay since we expanded our territory off the map edge by buying the northern square. The town expanded. Then I replaced all the major dirt roads with pavement again since we could finally afford it. That looked a lot better. Big growth. The houses leveled up and better people got inside of them. You know, it's rare that I get so far into a scenario like this without something going horribly awry, like the whole town getting covered in garbage, or the rampant spread of criminal behavior. So this time I tried to anticipate any potential future snafu that might reach up and ensnare me. People were pretty happy, but why wasn't everyone completely happy? As an answer, I dropped in dog parks, bombing everyone with explosions of happiness through the streets of the city. Happiness achieved. And what about their health? Only 69% for now. So I constructed elder care facilities for the old people who are about to die, and childcare services for the children, and the health of the town improved. What else was there to improve? Traffic. Congested. And the noise. I smoothed out 4-lane roads to lubricate the flow of cars. And whenever there was a traffic jam, I just put ridiculous highway entrance ramps that were just goofy. Taking the interstate exit can be fun. I built a prison to keep out the bad people. And I built road maintenance depots to improve the traffic flow and send out utility trucks through the city. I began to see that, through maybe pure chance alone this time, this might be the only time in my entire life that I've created a successful city in City Skylines without just messing everything up horribly through some bizarre social wrongdoing. Aside from the fact that the dog parks would sometimes inexplicably and spontaneously combust, everything was pretty much hunky-dory. I had created a tiny utopia of a city without cheating. Well, mostly without cheating. So at this point in time, I decided that the only right thing, the only fair thing to do, gazing upon the level 5 residential zones I had worked so hard to produce, the height of urban development, it would only be fair to launch asteroids on a collision course with the city. No one in the city had suffered like the residents of my former towns, after all. Who were they to deserve such a good life? Rest in pieces, people of Nippolopolis. Nippolopolians, whoever you are, I hope you all burn in hell. At least your deaths were fast, fiery, and exciting. I mean, at least that will always remain as one of my alternate save files. Perhaps I'll load it up another time, but to be totally honest, Tiny zones, one tile in the city works. It makes the city look a little uniform, but yeah, it's a totally viable strategy. Anyway, I really wanted to try this out. Thanks again to the amazing YouTuber Toadies for creating this idea. I just wanted to give it a try and I thought it looked like fun. And a big thanks to Paradox for sponsoring the free-to-play weekend in Cities Skylines, which is happening right now. If you want to try it out or some other ridiculous scenario, check out my link in the description. I'm Ambiguous Amphibian. A big thanks to my channel members and patrons who do not eat garbage. Until next time.